Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, we're going to be finding out what happens if Arthur gets tuberculosis while riding on the trolley and a few other experiments that we're going to dive into. So I got a couple of Facebook messages saying that I should try this because in case you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, in between the missions, Fleeting Joy, and when you meet Sadie Adler in the saloon in Saint Denis, if you get within a certain radius of that saloon, this will happen.
Mister, are you okay? Mister, are you okay? Are you okay, mister? Mister, you don't look so good. Let's get you to a doctor. Come on, it's not far. Just down the street here.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I'll be fine in a minute. I'm fine.
Nearly there, just around this corner. Now you head in there, friend. Go on.
So that automatically triggers the mission A Fork in the Road, where Arthur passes out and he has to be saved by the Good Samaritan, who oddly enough looks really similar to Gavin's friend, but that's a separate topic for another video. And what happens is he leads you into the doctor's office and you get treated for tuberculosis. And as you notice there, when Arthur reached that certain point of the map, like everything stopped. Like he didn't have a choice. He was going to get sick with the tuberculosis. He was going to pass out. The mission was going to start. And even if you're riding on a horse, Arthur will like fall off of his horse and collapse on the ground. So I wanted to try a couple more experiments. What would happen if we were riding the trolley, if we were riding with someone else, if we were in a stagecoach? So that's the experiment that we are going to attempt in this video today. So we're going to begin with the trolley, and you can see on the map I have the Sadie Adler mission ready to go. So I'm in between that point of Fleeting Joy and when Sadie is going to be giving us that mission and when we would get the tuberculosis A Fork in the Road. Now, this is like the first genuine time that I have ever ridden the trolley, and I was stunned at how many times this thing stopped. Like, it would stop like every 20 feet, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And number two, just how slow this thing goes. Like, it's not even worth it to ride on this thing. Like, you would honestly be faster if you got out and started crawling to where you wanted to go. But regardless, for the sake of this experiment, I'm going to be patient and stay on. And what I was hoping is that this trolley track would take us up and to the right and right past the sort of saloon where Sadie is waiting for us. So I put on my patient pants and I basically just sat there and did nothing while it took us about 7 minutes to go from one side of the city to another. I mean, I'm convinced like 4 hours elapsed in game and the weather started changing, but regardless, we started getting close to where that radius is of where you would start to pass out from your tuberculosis effects. And we started getting closer and closer and closer to the saloon, and I noticed that we are well inside the radius, and Arthur is not getting sick. So how about that? If you just keep riding the trolley, you can go by the area in which you're supposed to get sick via tuberculosis, and nothing will happen. That is kind of interesting. Now, once I figured this out, I basically wanted to hop off the trolley. And as soon as I got off the trolley, not as soon as I stood up, but like the second my feet touched the ground, that's when I lost control, and that's when the game ended up, sending me into the coughing fit, and that's when the mission would ultimately begin. Okay, so that was interesting. We learned a couple of things there. When Arthur is on the trolley, he won't get sick from tuberculosis. However, the second he touches the ground, he will become sick from the tuberculosis. So again, because of this, I wanted to try a few more experiments, because was that going to be the same for a stagecoach, for a wagon with a cart? There were a lot of different experiments that I wanted to try here. So the first experiment I did was actually loading up a cheat code. It was keep your dreams light. And this allowed me to spawn a horse with a wagon. So we were going to test this as our next experiment. And I'm not going to lie, these wagons are a little bit harder to control than I thought. But anyways, I ended up bringing this to the area, and as soon as Arthur got close enough, which from this direction, it was at the edge of like the market, he ended up hopping out on his own. I couldn't control it, and then went into the coughing fit. So that's interesting. Even though our feet weren't touching the ground, we still became sick from the tuberculosis. So that's kind of interesting right there. So we figured out that even though Arthur's feet were not in the ground, because it seemed as if he was in control of his vehicle, he would still get sick with tuberculosis. So the next one I ended up trying was another cheat code. It was keep your dreams simple. And this allowed me to spawn in another horse wagon, a little bit of a different type. So I figured maybe this would be different. Now on the way, I accidentally ran over someone, which I guess was a good thing. It allowed me to test another experiment here. What would happen if you had a wanted level? And it turns out if you have a wanted level, Arthur cannot get sick from the tuberculosis either. So even though he's being chased by the law, he won't stop dead in his tracks and end up passing out. So I decided to test this. Well, what happens if you lose your wanted level? So I lost my wanted level inside of the saloon, and Sadie is not here, and I don't have the tuberculosis sickness happening. So I found this to be pretty interesting. Now, I thought the second I stepped outside, I was ultimately going to get sick from tuberculosis. But it turns out that's not the case. I stepped outside and I was able to wander basically as normal. So I was thinking it was because the saloon was still closed. So I tried to run back and forth, but I wasn't having a lot of luck until I reached some point when I didn't even think anything was going to happen. I just started running away from the saloon. But I guess I still triggered something, and I just randomly started falling over and coughing, and that was that. So far, we've had some interesting experiments, and I wanted to try one final one in this video, and that was what would happen if you were to catch a ride with someone. So a lot of you guys might not know this, but if you hit the left trigger on someone riding in a vehicle, and you call out to them, you can hit up on the D-pad to request a ride. And sometimes they will decline you, sometimes they will accept. Now, when you do this, you have no control over the vehicle. You simply go where the NPC was going to go. So what I did is I tried to actually hitch a ride on several different wagons, but none of them seemed to be going in the direction of where Arthur would get his tuberculosis, that radius between Sadie and the doctor's office. So needless to say, it was quite frustrating. Just like the trolley, I don't know why anyone would request a ride from an NPC other than just to prevent them from going AFK and to rest, because it literally, it's not quick. The direction you go is totally random, so it's really a pain. But anyways, I was finally able to get a trolley cart where I was successfully able to get a ride, headed down that right street, and this was going to be interesting. What would happen? And what happens is Arthur just sort of gets out on his own volition. The guy you were riding with rides away, and then Arthur passes out. So I found that to be very interesting. He didn't fall out of the wagon. He didn't hop off on his own. I just found that to be really cool. Another thing we learned from this experiment is Arthur's eventual tuberculosis diagnosis is inevitable. You can only delay it by doing the silliest of tactics, like riding on the trolley and waiting in the saloon if you have a wanted level. But there's no way to bypass it. I'm sure you guys might have been curious if there's a way to get Arthur to live. Sadly, there is not. And this was just a fun experiment that I wanted to try a couple of examples that you might not have. Because I remember when I did this for the first time, I was shocked. I was like, what the heck? Why is Arthur not moving? Oh, no, he's coughing on the ground. I was like, wait, what the heck is going on? So it was fun to try these experiments, that's for sure. But anyways, that is all the information that I've got for you guys in this video today, and that's all the experiments that we're going to be trying too. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about what we tried today, about trying to avoid Arthur's tuberculosis diagnosis and more. If you did want to enjoy this video though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new, or you like daily Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.